Hello guys, my name is Maria Stockdale. Welcome to my channel, and today I'm going to tell you 5 rules of successful composition. It took me some time to realize that good painting isn't just about technique. It is all the time about successful composition. Today I'm going to show you 5 simple composition rules that work very well with watercolor. Each one is beginner friendly but incredibly powerful. I'm going to demonstrate all of them with my painting examples behind me. And let's start! So the first one is rule of thirds. It's like the bread and butter of composition. So imagine dividing your paper into a grid 3 by 3. So like that, like that, like that, and like that. And on the intersection of these vertical and horizontal lines, we can place our main subject. For example, right here I placed a daisy on the intersection of this one and this one. And right here is my dandelion on the intersection of this one and the lower one. So for the portrait, the focal point is the eye lines. And I placed it very close to the upper 1/3. I think the upper 1/3 line is going to be right here, I would say. So it's a little bit lower, but it's very close. Here, this is an abstract landscape, and the horizon line is on the upper 1/3 line as well. All these 3 paintings are pretty successful in terms of composition. Instead of placing the main focal point right in the middle, we move it, and it feels instantly more dynamic and more interesting. The next rule of composition is diagonal composition. So diagonals create energy and movement. They are more dynamic than horizontal or vertical lines, and they naturally draw the viewer's eye across the composition. So, for example, in this painting, I placed the bird's body like that. This one is like that. You see the lines. And as well for the main focal point is this, and I placed it to the upper 1/3. Here the main line of the drawing is this one. It's made out of both bodies, and then it is divided into this line and that line, which creates a lot of movement, and we can clearly see that these swallows are flying. For this bird, it's the same. The body is tilted that way, and the wings are creating a little bit of support for that. The main focal point here is closer to the middle, but not strict on the middle, but the vertical line is still on the 1/3 right here. The next rule of composition is contrast. Contrast is an incredibly powerful composition tool, especially in watercolor, but not only. Usually it's like in any media. And when I say about contrast, when I talk about contrast, I'm not just talking about dark versus light. This is very important, and that's the most important thing. But also I'm talking about contrast in color, details, and edges. For example, in this painting, there is contrast between green and red, which are complementary colors, contrast between the lightest light and darkest dark right here. The rest of the painting supports that. In this area, this ornament is not that high in contrast, even though it's still very glossy right here. The Christmas lights are not that high in contrast, and this has soft edges almost everywhere, but in the area where it touches this ornament, the biggest one. So in this painting, the focal point is this ornament and this ornament. Both of them are very high in contrast, and the rest is not that high in contrast, even though it's still glossy. The edges are very soft, and this one, for example, not that high in contrast. Plus, once again, the rule of thirds is right here. We don't have to place all our objects in every intersection of our rule of third lines. We can just use one, for example, this one. We can control contrast by managing our water to pigment ratios. So, for example, for high contrast areas, like here, I used a lot of pigment and much less water. And I also used wet on wet right here, and that helped me create very soft edges. The same about this one. Wet on wet almost everywhere, and I masked first my highlights, and they stayed sharp in edges, and that helped me taking this main area to the front. The next rule of composition is odd number groupings. For example, in this painting, we see a group of 3 ornaments right here, and this is where I placed my contrast as well. So this is very strong composition. In this painting, basically there is just 3 ornaments. If we somehow remove this one, this composition becomes more stiff and boring. The same about here, even though there is like 4 elements on this painting, the trick here is that there is 3 very bright elements on this painting, which attract immediate attention, and then the flute just supports that 3 elements and breaks a little bit of stiffness of a triangle here. And it is, I placed it on the 1/3 of the paper, just a little bit closer to the center, but not in the middle of the paper. So this composition is pretty strong as well, and if we imagine the horizontal lines placed on the thirds, it's gonna be like right here, and this group is on the lower line of thirds. And the 5th rule of composition that I wanted to talk about is single focal point. I was going to show you some of my oil paintings. Here is 3 elements, big one, middle one, and small one on the background. And the single focal point is achieved right here by high contrasts, almost white here, very dark right here. This small area of this peony is high in contrast, and this is just one focal point. The common mistake that I can see in many beginners' works is that they try to include too many focal points, and too many focal points can confuse the viewer. Here it's just one element again, but the focal point is somewhere here, It doesn't have to be the whole flower. Actually, it's even better when the some outer edges of the flower are very soft, like right here, and visually they would disappear in the background. So this one is high in contrast, values are very defined, and the edges are soft around it. The same here, but here the flower is more defined comparing to the foliage and the background itself. So the flower is very light, the background is dark, and the foliage on the background is not really very defined. The edges are very soft right here and right here, and the edges of the flower are soft in these areas. Some petals are soft right here when they like go from one petal to the other petal, for example. And for this painting, even though it's a very high in contrast in like everywhere kind of thing, but at the same time the this flower is the focal point of this painting. It has the most contrast. It is better painted in terms of it is described very like thoroughly, while for example this flower is almost not described. This flower is just, it's just like a whisper, and flowers on the edges are not defined, and this flower and this flower, you can still read them as rose flowers, but they are not defined as well as this one, and it creates a clear focal point in this painting. Here is an example of me working on composition rules when I was a student. Here the rules of composition is more complicated, but for example these four drawings are more simple to recreate. All we need is to use a circle, triangle, line, and rectangle. We can use these elements for creating composition. For example, right here is focal point by color. Even though this is very big and it attracts attention, the red color attracts more attention right here. For example, right here, it's a grouping. I grouped elements by color as well. The main color is this golden. I don't know why I did it in golden color, but the main group right here is in black. This one is called pause, so it's a lot of elements right here, but in the middle it is so-called a pause. This spot in the middle gives the viewer a little time to rest from the busyness of the rest of the composition. And right here it's a compositional center, and this is very obvious. This circle with the cutouts, they are made to attract even more attention than if it was just a circle. So these four examples are very easy to recreate, and using just these four elements we can achieve a lot of interesting compositional studies and approaches. And the best part is that you can mix and combine these approaches. For example, try placing your highest contrast area at the rule of thirds, or using diagonal arrangements with, for example, odd number groupings. If you guys want to see me cover any specific compositional challenges, let me know in the comments. Please subscribe and hit the like button, and see you next time!